All right, we're live. It's Culver's. Welcome to Delicious, bringing you the Saturday Breakout. He is Jim Dunaway in Tuscaloosa. I'm Ryan Brown. Just behind you there, a pretty interesting Alabama game, Jim. A Tennessee team that I thought played about as good as I've seen Tennessee play. Alabama probably didn't play as well as they would have liked, and for a while it was a game that looked like it was in question.
Well, let me first tell you something that rarely happens. In fact, I don't remember it ever happening, Brown, under Nick Saban at least. And I can't really think of a time it's happened where the Alabama players came back out of the locker room. And, I mean, there's probably, I'd say half the team came back out of the locker room after they'd gone in and went down and jumped into the stands and celebrated with the student body that was still left, the student section that was still here. And looking around, they've all made their way back into the locker room. Some of the coaches came back out. I never saw Nick Saban, but, you know, he had to give his okay, I'm sure, for them to run back out on the field. He controls everything. I can't remember a time, do you, that the players come back out like that? I mean, you see it at a lot of schools that after a big win, they jump into the student section and sort of celebrate, but it rarely happens here. But tonight they came back out and went down to the student section, took some pictures and some selfies, and I'm sure social media will be flooded with all those tonight.
Yeah, I can't remember a time. I mean, that seems a little odd for a team that wins all the time in that stadium and generally wins by pretty wide margins. You generally don't see them celebrate that way. It's interesting. I wonder what the story behind it was.
Yeah, I know. We know a guy. We can ask on Thursday, John Mechie, on why it was. You know, you wonder if somewhere along the way something happened in the game that really got under somebody's skin or something. I don't know, but you know, you're right. 15 straight wins over this Tennessee program, and you would expect that eventually it becomes, you know, old hat or doesn't mean that much. But this one seemed to mean a lot to that team when they came back out of the locker room tonight to celebrate with the students. Maybe it's just the rare big night game this year with, you know, not having COVID last year with the COVID, having the COVID protocols, not having a packed stadium, maybe having a true night game and an opportunity against a big opponent with the place juiced and the lights and the music. Maybe they wanted to continue that theme after the locker room.
All right, I'm going to take Brett's word for this. He says 5,840 days since Tennessee beat Alabama. I have not done the math to verify that Brett is correct on that, but it has been a very, very long time. There's no doubt about it.
It has, and I don't know about you, but there were moments tonight that this Alabama team was doing a lot of the things they did at College Station. Not exactly the same, but a lot of the mistakes where you sit here and you go, okay, they just had a punt block. They just had a delay a game out of a timeout. They just had to call a timeout to keep from getting a delay a game out of a timeout. They were jumping off, you know, off sides. They were dropping passes. And you thought to yourself, well, those are the kind of things they did when they lost at Texas A&M. And when it was 31-24, you were starting to wonder, man, one more bad break and this thing could be tied up and all of this could be in jeopardy, that long win streak. And then they put the hammer down the stretch. But it wasn't a clean game for Alabama, but it has been forever since Tennessee's ever able to have one to bounce the right way and get a victory in this thing.
Yeah, I thought Josh Heupel squeezed about his. I don't know that maybe he had his best game as a play caller. He was calling plays, you know, against a really good defensive front with a subpar offensive line for a quarterback that was obviously not 100%. So, you know, I don't know that he had his best game as a play caller, but overall for a Tennessee team, I thought that team played very hard. I thought they had a pretty good plan, especially defensively when they started. You can't do this for an entire game. It's a little bit of a gimmick defense. But the rush 3, drop 8 is something Alabama has struggled with. And they went to that and had some success slowing Alabama down with it. All in all, I thought you got to give Tennessee a lot of credit for the way they played in this game, even though they still lost. Alabama still covered the Vegas number and won by, 26, 28 points, whatever it was. I thought Tennessee represented themselves pretty well in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, to get to that thing being 31-24, you have to have something going your way. And I'll ask you, you tell me, because I'm getting beat up on Twitter a little bit. I was complimenting Bryce Young for saving the offensive line time and time again tonight with the way he scrambled and such. But a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of our viewers, were saying that, no, he's holding the ball too much. He's not throwing anybody open. He's waiting for the receivers to be wide open before he throws them. Bryce was catching some criticism. The receivers were catching criticism when I was blaming it a lot on the offensive line and why Bryce was having to move around. That was from my point of view inside the stadium. You watched it. What do you think was maybe the disconnect tonight offensively for a while?
Well, on the TV, you don't all the time get to see the routes and see what guys were open or not. Maybe there were a couple of times, but I thought Bryce Young, using his legs, did bail out an offensive line that, was allowing some pressure. And we've seen Bryce Young run more and more and more. And I think it's one of those things where to me, he looked most elusive running the football than we've ever seen him tonight. We're just getting to the point where he even is willing to run the ball that much, but he ran tonight and ran elusively. He was difficult to bring down. He made guys miss an open field. He made plays with his legs. I do think he's a guy that runs as the last option. He wants to try to get the ball down the field. I don't think there's any doubt. Was he not throwing guys open? I don't know that that's the case. Again, that's really difficult to tell from TV. One of the criticisms, and you can answer this, of this Alabama receiving corps is they don't create the separation that the previous receiving corps did, going back to guys like Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, people like that. So I don't, that's hard to see on TV. That's easier to see in the stadium, but from people I've talked to in the stadium, they say that is the case.
Well, I think what happens is we only remember the highlights of Waddle and Devontae and Jerry and those guys, right? We don't remember every play. And these guys get wide open often, So, it's hard for me to judge in real time. But I would say, yeah, obviously these are not 4 first-round draft picks that are out there running routes. But there are a lot of times there's an open receiver or two, and that's where the big plays came. And that, that's where I want to give a lot of credit to this offense tonight. There were times when this was a crunching game where one mistake and it could have flipped this game in Big Orange's favor. And they still were not afraid to throw it, to call a play, to throw it deep, to throw it over the top of the defense, to get a little risky with it. So hats off to staying aggressive offensively, because if you'd pulled it close to the vest back then, Tennessee would have been able to stay in the game. Now, I will tell you this, the one concerning thing for me tonight was I didn't chart the game, but how many 3rd and 6 plus, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12s was Alabama in tonight. Yeah. It seemed like a ton of them, and that is not Nick Saban's philosophy of the way to play winning football. And I think a lot of that was either the inability to run when they wanted to, or the inability to call run plays at a certain time to get them in that situation. I think one thing that will happen in this bye week, I think you'll get a lot of self-scouting going on with the play calling on what identity they want to be down the stretch. And I think that'll be very beneficial for Bill O'Brien, for Bryce Young, for Nick Saban, to all sort of get on the same page and say, hey, this is the kind of offense. This is the identity we want to be. Here's what we want to do in these situations, and sort of get back to a starting point and move from there.
Alabama, Jim, was 15 of 20 on 3rd down. 15 of 20. First of all, it's a really good 3rd down conversion percentage. But having 20 3rd downs you had to convert, that's pretty remarkable, man. 15 of 20.
And that shows you, right, the thin line of success here. 15 of 20. If you go down to 50% or less on your 3rd down conversions, it may be a different game. And I think if I'm Josh Heupel and I get back to Knoxville and I'm breaking down the tape, I'm going to be upset that on 3rd down I allowed them to convert 15 times. But I think I can show my team is like, look how close we are. We're one defensive play away from getting them off the field and maybe, again, having a chance to score. So, Alabama wins it. I think there's a lot of positives from Tennessee to build on. I know they're a 4-4 team. But we've been watching this series for a long time, and I'm not personally a big fan of Josh Heupel, but I think he's doing a heck of a job right now with what he's got left in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah, I thought he did pretty well tonight. I will say that I've been very critical of him as well. That's the wrong one. My apologies. On Facebook, Michael says our special teams play is terrible. Um, Obviously, you had the roughing the kicker, which was Nick Saban blew up on McMillan for that one. You had the punt that got blocked that led up directly to
Yeah,
Tennessee points. By the way, a lot of criticism, real quick, Jim, about Alabama's defense, but the defense in a sudden change situation like that with Tennessee with great field position to only give up 3, that was great defense there for Alabama.
oh, that was a critical. I would tell you this thing cute coming out on the punt was so they tried to do it. It was something cute that I bet gets tossed into the trash bin from now on. And then on the block punt, I mean, you can get mad about it if you want, but somebody called an aggressive punt rush there. I mean, they had the block on, and that's not, you don't always have to have that. So that was it was a coaching decision to go try to block the punt. And when you try to block the punt, I mean, they had guys there. Sometimes you rough the kicker, so you can prevent roughing the kicker by not having a block on. And I thought the block that happened, I thought the special teams coaching staff got a little too cute there.
I agree. It was the rollout punt. They rolled into the coverage where it was blocked, and Latu completely whiffed. He missed his block, and Toto's wasn't great, but it was the guy that came right between, and Latu completely missed him. That's the guy that blocked the kick. So I'm with you. That's one that they probably go back and look at in film study and say, why are we doing it this way, right?
Yep.
Explain to me why we did this, and we asked our second line, our upbacks, to on the move have to block guys and pick who to block. Seems like maybe you overcomplicated that one a little bit.
Yeah, I've always thought, and you're the one that taught me that, was punting broke so bad that we have to invent different ways of doing it. Why don't we just punt the ball? We didn't get a first down, just punt the ball and go play defense, right? And on the flip side of that, do you really need a block at that point in the game, right? Early in the game, why not just, punt safe, catch the ball, and then go back and play offense, right? Well, I mean, both of those so uncharacteristic for usually the way Nick Saban plays.
Absolutely. It is the Culver's Saturday Breakout. Culver's, welcome to delicious Alabama. The points would tell you 52-24. Alabama was an easy winner, 28-point winner. But the way the game was played certainly would not tell you that. Alabama was in a fight. And I'll tell you another interesting aspect of this game, Jim, is where I got to give Tennessee a lot of credit here, is Alabama at the end of the first half had gotten the ball back. I thought that, I wasn't crazy about Heupel keeping the fastball offense going there. Alabama had the 3 timeouts. They ran 3 quick plays, and then Hooker made an awful decision on third down to throw the ball out of bounds rather than just go down and either force Alabama to use the timeout or burn clock. Alabama gets it back, and then you had a penalty. You had Young getting sacked. You couldn't get points out of the end of the half drive. Then you get the ball coming out of the locker room and go 3 and out. That's uncharacteristic of Alabama. When you give them those situations where they can get points right before the half and they're getting the ball coming out, they normally take advantage of that and at least get 10 or 14 points out of that. They got 0 out of that situation. And honestly, you're lucky to survive and win games when you do stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. When you start playing this forward, that if you're in Jordan-Hare Stadium and that opportunity arises, which, we keep saying on the next round is becoming, pretty obvious, is the toughest game remaining on Alabama's regular season schedule. And when you're playing Georgia in an SEC championship games where points may be at a premium to maybe get a 2-for-1, that will be huge. And it's got to become part of your DNA to where you can take advantage of things like that.
Yeah, so Alabama did not take advantage of those things, but we're in a one-possession game going to the half, or going to the fourth quarter, a one-possession game going to the half end of the fourth quarter. And I said, and we'll pick this up on the other side of the break here, because I want you to think about this. Does this Alabama team have a killer instinct? Does this Alabama team have the killer instinct they need? And I'll give you some examples in this game where I don't know that they showed that killer instinct, and we'll talk more about that. This is the Saturday Breakout. It is presented by Culver's. Welcome to Delicious. Great location right there, 459 and 119 in Stadium, or 150 in Stadium Trace, and coming soon to 280 and 119 in Tattersall Park. The Saturday Breakout presented by Culver's.
Hey, Brownie.
All right, segment 2 of the yo.
I was going to tell you that if you want, I don't know how we're holding up with our connection and stuff, but if we want to, we could just toss to some, do some more analytics and toss to some sound as well, and I can edit that in there tomorrow for our replay. Just thought live here on the air.
Yep. You're people are laughing at you. People are laughing at you because the video is freezing up a little bit. we're getting voice and no video.
Well, I'm here to tell you, it's 100,000 people right now trying to leave.
A lot of people complaining about the in-stadium Wi-Fi, that they got better Wi-Fi at A&M and at Florida. You don't get any in Tuscaloosa.
So here we go. I'm on that Wi-Fi right now.
Well, we're about to test it live, aren't we?
We're going to test it again?
All right.
Here we go.
Yeah, why not? Why not? All right, let's hang on. I'm just going to check this Braves score while I got a break here. Is it still 4-2?
4-2 who?
4-2 Braves. That was the last time I saw it. Here we go. Yeah, bottom of the 8th, still 4-2. All right, Braves are 3 outs away from the World Series. All right, here we go.
Is this segment 2 or 3?
This is segment 2.
Don't know how long my arm can hold up.
You're going to have to buy a tripod. You need to get a tripod.
All right, no tripod.
I can tell. It's the Saturday Breakout presented by Culver's. Welcome to Delicious. Segment number 2 here as Alabama has beaten Tennessee 52 to 28. An impressive fourth quarter for Alabama. Sometimes not an impressive game overall for the Tide. And Dunaway, I ask you the question as we went to break there. Does this Alabama team lack a killer instinct? And to me, the perfect example of that was when Alabama went up 31 to 17, and then they allowed the long bomb to Tennessee to make it 31-24. It just felt like that was a situation in the past where Alabama's defense clamps down, gives the offense the ball back, they drive the field and end the game, and instead they let Tennessee hit a long pass and cut it to 7. It's similar to what we saw in Gainesville that Alabama survived and what we saw in College Station that Alabama did not survive.
I would agree with you, and the fact that it was thrown over the top of Josh Jobe may have been the most surprising thing that I saw all night long. But a couple of deep balls over the top. Early on they were picking on 3, and a couple of balls thrown at him. Yeah, but then to see it go over Jobe's head, that's one. That was just a move off the line, and Jobe got beat off the line and was trying to keep up and couldn't keep up. And that was pretty alarming, to be honest with you, that they put that one on the money there, right over Josh Jobe, one of the best DBs in the country, which can't be perfect. And he got beat there. But I'm with you. There were times tonight that I thought this thing was going to be, okay, that's it. Alabama's about to run away with it. And something would happen and Tennessee would get back into it until they didn't.
Yeah, Jobe was looking at the sideline at the snap. That's a problem when you're looking at, and it was on Alabama's sideline. It's not like it was across the field trying to, get something from across the field. They're on the Alabama sideline there. He's looking at the sideline at the snap, and it did not go well for him there. He gets beat off the line, and give Hooker credit. He saw it right away and hits the receiver for the deep touchdown. So that was a busted coverage that, that's something you can't have happen. Another busted coverage where you've got an alignment, and Greg McElroy did a good job of pointing this out. You got an alignment where you're forcing the receiver inside down near the goal line, and there's no safety in the center of the field. I mean, it's just bad alignment. I mean, it's just poor alignment. It's got nothing to do really with, what's Tennessee doing or whatever. You're lined up incorrectly. You got, you're giving the receiver the inside, which to me it means you think you've got inside help there, and there's no inside help. And that's an easy touchdown for Tennessee. Those are just things Alabama cannot have happen against teams that are a little closer to them than Tennessee.
Yeah. Back to the question asked, is it at people's feet? Is it at who's calling the defense's play? Is there miscommunication and signaling? Is it just one person messing? Those are all things I'm sure that gets discussed in the defensive meetings. But those are things that in Christmases past or Alabama season past, you didn't see a lot of.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you on that. Did you think Brian Robinson had 107 rush yards without looking? Would you have guessed he ran the ball for 107 yards?
Oh, I would guess Mechie caught over 100 yards passing. I would have said B-Rob. Yeah, that the 15-yard run here and there, 15 here, 9 there. It adds up pretty quick. 107 would sound about right. I'd put him between 95 and 110.
Yeah, 26 carries, 107. Of course, he had the 3 touchdowns. All those are short yardage runs. Didn't have a run more than 15 yards, but was very consistent for Alabama. You mentioned Mechie, 11 catches, 121 yards. So he did go over there. So did Jamison Williams, 123 receiving yards. I mean, you mentioned the running of Bryce Young, but throwing the football, 31 of 43, 371, 2 touchdowns. It's another night where you watch Bryce Young and he might not blow you away, and then you look at the numbers at the end, and you're like, the guy had a great game, and he continues to put up numbers that have him in this Heisman discussion like that.
He does. One thing, do you hear what's happening down here? Can you see?
It sounds like monkeys. Yeah, what we got going on here?
You have Braves fans now who are also Alabama fans hanging out of their skyboxes doing the chop. So have they clinched or are they close?
Do you think there might be some alcohol involved in that?
Oh my God, Brown! The alcohol is like is if it wasn't for the cigars, alcohol would be pouring out of the skybox. The Braves have won, is what I'm being told. You got that on the big screen?
No, they have not. They have not.
Yeah. The drunk lady is wrong.
I believe she might be incorrect. Did you? People were wanting to know if the smell of cigar smoke was very prominent at the end of the game. There, they were showing it on TV. The smoke coming up. People were asking, did it smell like an ashtray, Dunaway?
Go look at my Twitter. Is that a shot at me on Twitter that I said?
No, I don't think so.
7:53. I may have used the incorrect word, Brown, and they may be making fun of me. Is why they're saying that.
No. I think people were, yeah.
I tweeted at like 5:30 something or 7:30 something on the clock. I mean, I was coughing on the sidelines, and I said, I can't believe we used to smoke indoors. I'm in an outdoor stadium, and I'm coughing on the sideline. That's how bad the smoke was. It's crazy. I think it was like at 7:53, 7 minutes and 53 seconds. And it is bad that you could smell. Like I've got our next round hoodie on. I'm trying to get a little love here inside the stadium. And
right.
And I'll have to wash it 100% because it smells like cigar.
Did you sell any for us? That's the key question. Did anybody buy any because you
any cigars?
No, the next round hoodie. I don't give a rip about cigars. I want you to sell some of those hoodies for us.
Well, I didn't know if LT had put next round cigars up for sale. I mean, we're one step away from putting that in the shop too. We got everything else going up there.
I'm for it.
I would say no. I don't know. Maybe a couple people commented about the show when they saw the shirt.
Yeah.
I'm still surprised people recognize me with my bald head. Have I been bald that long? I mean, to me, I went bald in the pandemic. Was I bald before the pandemic?
I don't know. That's a great. Yeah, I think. Oh, yeah. You shaved your hair quite a while ago, I would say. All right.
I thought I did it during the pandemic, but I guess I'm wrong.
It is the Saturday Breakout presented by Culver's. Welcome to Delicious, 2 great locations at Culver's, just off 459 and 150 right there in Stadium Trace. Coming soon to Tattersall Park, 119 and 280. Let's talk about the national picture. A lot of talk about Caleb Williams maybe playing his way to New York. Maybe we were a touch premature in that discussion based on the way his team played in Lawrence, Kansas today. That was a totally bizarre game. They were fortunate to hold on and win.
Absolutely. And, boy, I'm sitting here. I did a little work pregame down here in Tuscaloosa for CBS 42. And then for the second half of those early games, I'm freed up and I'm like, I've got no plans to go watch, find the TVs to watch this because it was such a bad early slate. but I checked the scoreboard at halftime, and everything was 10-7 or 13-7, and everything was in jeopardy. So of course I went to a sports bar quickly, and I was like, I've got to watch all these upsets happen. And ends up only one happened. All the other teams came back, but I was sitting there all of a sudden like, Caleb Williams not very good in sleepy Kansas, and then I was like, Kansas had a chance to win that football game. I mean,
100%,
questionable call one time, and then there at the end, I mean, KU had a chance there, and we're sitting here with a one-loss Alabama team who. They control their own destiny because they can win the SEC championship still. But after watching Oklahoma this year, how many SEC teams do you think are better than Oklahoma? 2, 3, 4?
I know Georgia is. I think Alabama is. I think Ole Miss is. Ole Miss was very impressive today in their win over LSU. So I think they are. I think A&M, the night they played Alabama, they were. A&M seems to be playing much better football now. I think they are. So that's at least 4 that I would say are definitely better than them. I think on Auburn's best day, they could play with them. That Tennessee team tonight would give them some trouble. I mean, I think there are a lot of teams in the SEC. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. One loss in the SEC, Auburn. Now their strength of schedule dropped a little bit. Today with Penn State's loss. That was something, I was hanging my hat on Auburn with the fact that, number 1 and number 7 are their only losses, and they had such good road wins at LSU and at Arkansas. But, that Penn State loss today hurts that argument a little bit. But, you told me a long time ago you can't connect Saturday to Saturday. You can't play the matchup game. You got to take it for what it is, and a win's a win, and a loss is a loss. So for Penn State, that was a tough one today to swallow.
Oh my gosh, Penn State and Illinois played 9 overtimes. First of all, this whole new overtime deal is a joke. We created this to try to get the games over quicker so they don't drag on and on and on and on. And really the first big test of it, what happened? The game drug on and on and on and on. And everybody says, well, it's going to be safer for the players. Well, tell that to Illinois' quarterback who had to leave in an air cast, who was playing, one of those 2-point conversion overtime plays. It's still football. People are still going to get hurt. And fewer plays maybe than I don't know. I don't think there's any way of knowing. If we had just played a normal overtime, would it have ended sooner with fewer plays? I mean, that's 9 additional plays per side after 2 overtime periods. I don't know what we saw by doing it that way, to be honest with you.
Yeah. You solve nothing, just like with putting a runner on second base in Major League Baseball solves nothing. You sure there can be some quick end of overtime, end of extra innings, but there are going to be situations where you go 9 overtimes like we had today. It's an asinine rule. The best way to do it is to go back the way it was and just play it out. Just have no field goals. You have to score touchdowns and touchdowns only. Just no field goals.
Yeah, maybe that fixes it. I don't know, but it was very painful to watch. You had 2-point conversion after 2-point conversion. Like Hall & Oates says right here, the LSU A&M game years ago was fun. It went, I think, 7 overtimes. This was trash. It had a lot to do with the fact that the 2 teams were awful. They couldn't score. I think they went 6 overtimes on 2-point plays without either one of them even getting into the end zone. Well, I guess that would have been 4. 4 of the 2-point conversion overtimes. 4 or 5 straight without them even getting it in the end zone. I mean, that's incredible from 3 yards out that you can't get the ball in the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, 9 overtimes back in the day, old rules, it would have been 105 to 103 the final score, right? Today, 9 overtimes and it was 20-18. It didn't even make the over. Who would have ever thought if you bet the under? If I'd have told you bet the under and they played 9 overtimes and you still won your bet, no way.
Yeah. I mean, how does that even work? 20-18. It was really, really, really bad. I mentioned that Ole Miss beat LSU. That was impressive. That was my upset alert. It was absolutely nowhere close. Ole Miss blew them out of the water. LSU drove down early, and that was really the only time they had any sort of control over that game. 31-17, impressive win by Ole Miss. This is looking like Ole Miss-Auburn is such an interesting game next Saturday. Auburn coming off the bye, Ole Miss coming off this LSU win. And the winner of that game, I think, is in really good shape for the stretch run.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm planning on being at that game. And I agree with you. I think that's going to be a fascinating game. Auburn coming off the bye, and Ole Miss on this stretch of just gut, having to lay it on the line. Matt Corral and that offense having to put up some numbers. Really impressed with what Corral and Ole Miss were able to do today. And when you talk about LSU, I felt like maybe, last weekend they knew that Ed Orgeron, they'd already made that decision after Kentucky, and that was their lay it on the line game for Ed Orgeron. More injuries, the roster's decimated, and it looked like their emotional tank ran empty in the second half today as well.
An amazing stat before we wrap up here on the Culver's Welcome to Delicious Saturday Breakout. An amazing stat. Iowa State beat Oklahoma State 24-21. And I'm about to confirm this, but in the history of Iowa State football, I think they had 8 top 10 wins in the history of their program. Now, that sounds crazy, right? We've been playing football a long time. But in the history of their program, 8 top 10 wins, and under their current administration, they've had 4 of the 8. So they had 8 all
Wow.
time. He's had 4 of them. Matt Campbell has. That's just an incredible record. Incredible how he's changed his program. 24-21 over Oklahoma State. Just a great win for Iowa State. And Matt Campbell, he just continues to put up amazing teams at Iowa State.
Yep, no doubt about it. And LT said that was going to happen, and it happened today.
Yep.
He called that, and that really hurts Oklahoma State as far as their chances of making the college football playoff. I mean, I can't write them off, but that team did not look like they were going to be able to run the table. But of course, that Big 12 looks wide open now, right? I mean, Iowa State may be good enough to win that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma is far from dominant. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, you watch Oklahoma today against Kansas. I think if I'm the rest of the Big 12, if I'm Baylor, I think I can play with them. If I'm Oklahoma State, I think even though I never beat them in Bedlam, I think I can play with them. So, you're going to have to beat them twice. I mean, that's the thing. You're likely going to have to beat Oklahoma twice, but they certainly, have their Achilles heels. Kansas was able to run on them all day today, and that's been something they've struggled with. And then Caleb Williams, as soon as people start talking about him maybe being a Heisman-type candidate, he has that type of game he had today. So we'll see in the Big 12, but it does appear to be wide open. Pitt beat Clemson real quick before we wrap up here. That's, Clemson can still win their division, Jim, but I don't know that you could even say you favor them to win the ACC anymore, even if they do win their division.
Yeah, that's almost a lock at this point, right? How did NC State end up today?
NC State, give me 1 second. NC State and Miami held on and won that game. I was watching it before we went live. 31-30, Miami held on to beat NC State. So the ACC wheel of destiny has knocked everybody out of playoff contention, basically.
Yes. That is not a division, but a conference. It looks like Pitt is in good position to win this thing, right? So that's interesting. Yeah. What a great uniform game that was, Pitt and Clemson too today. But watching that, I thought for them to do what they did to Clemson's defense today, really impressive with the Pitt Panthers. And boy, to see DJ Uiagalelei get pulled and substituted in the third quarter of that game, and then go to the backup quarterback, that was eye-opening. I mean, Spencer Rattler and Uiagalelei both losing their starting jobs at some point this season. Who would have bet on that?
Yeah, so Pitt 3-0 in that division. They got a 2-game lead over everybody else in that division. Wake still has the lead in the other division, and now they've got to lose twice. And they've still got to play Clemson, but they got to lose twice. NC State's now got that one division loss, so we'll see how that turns out. So that's kind of a look at what happened today. Huh?
Are we gonna get over? We're gonna come over to your house or LT's house to watch Wake and Pitt in the ACC championship game. I mean, we got to get together for that one, right?
I may DVR that one and just see how it turns out. I'm assuming that day I'll be at the SEC championship game, right? Though maybe not. Who knows? Maybe watching if Alabama loses another one, I could be watching Ole Miss play Georgia at the SEC.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll record it, and then when you're hungry for football in June, I'll let you watch it then.
Yeah, I can go back and watch it. I'll know how it turned out, but but I may not know all the details. All right, so Alabama wins over in Tuscaloosa, 52-24. Crimson Tide beats Tennessee. What is that now? 15 straight? Is that what you say?
Yep, 15 straight.
15 straight. That's pretty incredible in that series. But I thought Tennessee accounted pretty well for themselves. So we'll talk about it all on the Monday show. It is the Saturday Breakout presented by Culver's. Welcome to Delicious, to great locations soon in Birmingham. You can go to the one right now, 150 and 459 in Stadium Trace, coming soon to Tattersall Park, 119 and 280. Thanks for joining us for the Saturday Breakout. Culver's, welcome to Delicious. All right. Enjoy the rest of the night in Tuscaloosa there.
Was that 3 or 2?
That was 2. I'm going to end
Okay.
it.